But one man, Thersites, still railed on, non-stop. His head was full of obscenities, teeming with rant, all for no good reason. Insubordinate, baiting the kings, anything to provoke some laughter from the troops. Here was the ugliest man who ever came to Troy. Bandy-legged he was, with one clubbed foot, both shoulders humped together, curving over his caved-in chest, and bobbing above them, his skull warped to a point, sprouting clumps of scraggly, woolly hair. Achilles despised him most, Odysseus too. He was always abusing both chiefs, but now he went for majestic Agamemnon, hollering out, taunting the king with strings of cutting insults. The Achaeans were furious with him, deeply offended, but he kept shouting at Agamemnon, spewing his abuse. Still moaning and groaning, mighty Atreides, why now? What are you panting after now? Your shelters are packed with the lion's share of bronze. Plenty of women, too, crowding your lodges. Best of the lot, the beauties we hand you first whenever we take some stronghold. Or, still more gold you're wanting? More ransom a son of the stallion-breaking Trojans might just fetch from Troy, though I or another hero drags him back in chains? Or a young woman, is it? To spread and couple? To bed down for yourself apart from all the troops? How shameful of you, the high and mighty commander, to lead the sons of Achaea into bloody slaughter. Sons? No, my soft friends, wretched excuses. Women, not men of Achaea. Home we go in our ships. Abandon him here in Troy to wallow in all his prizes. He'll see if the likes of us have propped him up or not. Look, now it's Achilles, a greater man he disgraces. Seizes and keeps his prize, tears her away himself. But no gall in Achilles, Achilles lets it go. If not, Atreides, that outrage would have been your last. So Thersites taunted the famous field marshal, but Odysseus stepped in quickly, faced him down with a dark glance and threats to break his nerve. What a flood of abuse, Thersites, even for you, fluent and flowing as you are. Keep quiet. Who are you to wrangle with kings, you alone? No one. I say no one alive less soldierly than you, none in the ranks that came to Troy with Agamemnon. So stop your babbling, mouthing the names of kings, flinging indecencies in their teeth, your eyes peeled for a chance to cut and run for home. We can have no idea, no clear idea at all how the long campaign will end, whether Achaea's sons will make it home unharmed or slink back in disgrace. But there you sit, hurling abuse at the son of Atreus, Agamemnon, marshal of armies, simply because our fighters give Atreides the lion's share of all of our plunder. You and your ranting slander, you are the outrage. I tell you this, so help me it's the truth. If I catch you again, blithering on this way, let Odysseus' head be wrenched off his shoulders. Never again call me the father of Telemachus. If I don't grab you, strip the clothing off you, cloak, tunic, and rabs that wrap your private parts, and whip you howling naked back to the fast ships out of the army's muster, whip you like a cur. And he cracked the scepter across his back and shoulders. The rascal doubled over, tears streaking his face, and a bloody welt bulged up between his shoulder blades under the stroke of the golden scepter's studs. He squatted low, cringing, stunned with pain, blinking like some idiot, rubbing his tears off dumbly with a fist. Their morale was low, but the men laughed now. Good, hearty laughter breaking out over Thersites' head. Glancing at neighbors, they would shout, "A terrific stroke! 1,000 terrific strokes he's carried off. Odysseus taking the lead in tactics, mapping battle plans. But here's the best thing yet he's done for the men. He's put a stop to this babbling, foul-mouthed fool. Never again, I'd say, will our gallant comrade risk his skin to attack the kings with insults." So the soldiers bantered. But not Odysseus. The raider of cities stood there, scepter in hand, and close beside him the great, gray-eyed Athena rose like a herald, ordering men to silence. All from the first to lowest ranks of Achaea's troops should hear his words and mark his counsel well. No, for the good of all, he urged them. So what is with this Thersites guy anyways? And why does everyone hate and mock him? I mean, isn't he just saying the same things about Agamemnon that Achilles was just saying in the last chapter? Well, what do we know based on what we've heard so far? Thersites seems to be horrifically deformed to the point that, in my opinion, he isn't really useful as a soldier on the battlefield. He can't wear armor properly and can't move to save his life, let alone strike with any power. So this must be an exaggeration on Homer's part, but why? Why make out a common soldier to be a hideously deformed caricature, especially one that makes some valid points? Is this something to do with the social structure of the time? And is that indicative of the Mycenaeans or of Homer's time? The character of Thersites seems to generate significantly more questions than answers. Agamemnon! Now, my king, the Achaeans are bent on making you a disgrace in the eyes of every man alive. Yes, they failed to fulfill their promise sworn that day they sailed here from the stallion lands of Argos, that not until you had razed the rugged walls of Troy would they sail home again. But look at them now, like green, defenseless boys or widowed women whimpering to each other, wailing to journey back. True, they've labored long, they're desperate for home. Any fighter, cut off from his wife for 1 month, would chafe at the benches, moaning in his ship, pinned down by gales and heavy raging seas. A month, yes, but look at us. This is the 9th year come round, the 9th we've hung on here. Who could blame the Achaeans for chafing, bridling beside the beaked ships? But still, what a humiliation it would be to hold out so long, then sail home empty-handed. Courage, my friends, hold out a little longer, till we can see if Calchas divined the truth or not. We all recall that moment. Who could forget it? We were all witnesses then. All. At least the ones the deadly spirits have not dragged away. Why, it seems only like yesterday or the day before when our vast armada gathered, moored at Aulis, freighted with slaughter bound for Priam's Troy. We were all busy then, milling around a spring and offering victims up on holy altars. Full sacrifice to the gods to guarantee success. Under a spreading plane tree where the water splashed, glittering in the sun, when a great omen appeared. A snake, and his back streaked red with blood. A thing of terror. Olympius Zeus himself had launched him into the clean light of day. He slid out from under the altar, glided up the tree, and there, the brood of a sparrow, helpless young ones, teetered high on the topmost branch tips, cowering under the leaves there. 8 they were all told, and the mother made the 9th. She'd borne them all, chirping to break the heart, but the snake gulped them down, and the mother cried out for her babies, fluttering over him. He coiled, struck, fanging her wing, a high, thin shriek. But once he'd swallowed down the sparrow with her brood, the son of crooked Kronos, who sent the serpent forth, turned him into a sign, a monument clear to see. Zeus struck him to stone, and we stood by, amazed that such a marvel came to light. So then, when those terrible monstrous omens burst in on the victims we were offering to the gods, Calchas swiftly revealed the will of Zeus. Why struck dumb now, my long-haired Achaeans? Zeus, who rules the world, has shown us an awesome sign, an event long in the future, late to come to birth. But the fame of that great work will never die. As the snake devoured the sparrow with her brood, 8, and the mother made the 9th, she'd borne them all, so we too will fight in Troy that many years, and then, in the 10th, we'll take her broad streets. So that day the prophet revealed the future, and now, look, by God it all comes to pass. Up with you, all you Argives geared for combat, stand your ground right here until we take the mighty walls of Priam. He fired them so the armies roared and the ships resounded round them, shattering echoes ringing from their shouts as Argives cried assent to King Odysseus' words, and Nestor, the noble horseman, spurred them more. What disgrace! Look at you, carrying on in the army's muster just like boys, fools. Not a thought in your heads for works of battle. What becomes of them now, the pacts and oaths we swore, into the flames with counsels, all the plans of men, the vows sealed with the strong, unmixed wine, the firm clasp of the right hand we trusted? We battle on in words as always, mere words, and what's the cure? We cannot find a thing, no matter how many years we wrangle here. Agamemnon, never swerve. Hold to your first plan of action. Lead your armies headlong into war. The rest of them, let them rot. The 1 or 2 who hatch their plans apart from all the troops, what good can they win from that? Nothing at all. Why, they'd scuttle home before they could even learn if the vows of Zeus with his dark cloudy shield are false or not. Zeus, the son of almighty Kronos, I remind you, bowed his head that day we boarded ship, all the Argives laden with blood and death for Troy. His lightning bolts on the right, good omens blazing forth. So now let no man hurry to sail for home, not yet, not till he beds down with a faithful Trojan wife, payment in full for the groans and shocks of war we have all borne for Helen. But any soldier, wild with desire to reach his home at once, just let him lay a hand on his black bench ship, and right in front of the rest he'll reach his death. But you, my king, be on your guard yourself. Come, listen well to another man. Here's some advice, not to be tossed aside, and I will tell it clearly. Range your men by tribes, even by clans, Agamemnon. So clans fight by the side of clan, tribe by tribe. Fight this way if the Argives still obey you. Then you can see which captain is a coward, which contingent too, and which is loyal, brave, since they will fight in separate formations of their own. Then, what's more, if you fail to sack the city, you will know if the will of gods are to blame or the cowardice of your men, inept in battle. And King Agamemnon took his lead, saluting. Again, old man, you outfight the Argives in debate. Father Zeus, Athena, Apollo, if only I had 10 men like Nestor to plan with me among Achaea's armies, then we could topple Priam's citadel in a day, throttle it in our hands and gut Troy to nothing. But Kronos' son Zeus with his shield of storm insists on embroiling me in painful struggles, futile wars of words. Imagine, I and Achilles wrangling over a girl, battling man to man, and I was the first to let my anger flare. Ah, if the two of us could ever think as one, Troy could delay her day of death no longer, not one moment. Go now, take your meal, the sooner to bring on war. Quickly, let each fighter sharpen his spear well, balance his shield well, feed his horses well with plenty of grain to build their racing speed. Each man look well to his chariot's running order. Nerve himself for combat now, so all day long we can last out the grueling duels of Ares. No breathing space, no let up, not a moment, not till the night comes on to part the fighter's fury. Now sweat will soak the shield strap around your chest. Your fist gripping the spear will ache with tensing. Now the lather will drench your war team's flanks, hauling your sturdy chariot. But any man I catch trying to skulk behind his long-beaked ships, hanging back from battle, he is finished. No way for him to escape the dogs and birds. So he commanded, and the armies gave a deep resounding roar, like waves crashing against a cliff when the south wind whips it, bearing down some craggy headland jutting out to the sea. The waves will never leave it in peace, thrashed by gales that hit from every quarter, breakers left and right. The troops sprang up, scattered back to the ships, lit fires beside their tents and took their meal, each sacrificed to one or another deathless god, each man praying to flee death and the grind of war. But the Lord of men, Agamemnon, sacrificed a fat, rich ox, 5 years old, to the son of mighty Kronos, Zeus, and called the chiefs of all the Argive forces. Nestor, first and foremost, then King Idomeneus, the great and little Ajax, Tydeus' son Diomedes, and Odysseus sixth, a mastermind like Zeus. The lord of the war cry Menelaus came uncalled. He knew at heart what weighed his brother down. They stood in a ring around the ox, took up barley, and then, rising among them, King Agamemnon raised his voice in prayer. Zeus, Zeus, God of greatness, God of glory, Lord God of the dark clouds who lives in the bright sky, don't let the sun go down or the night descend on us, not till I hurl the smoke-black halls of Priam headlong, torch his gates to blazing rubble, rip the tunic of Hector and slash his heroic chest to ribbons with my bronze, and a ruck of comrades round him, groveling face down, gnaw their own earth. And so Agamemnon prayed, but the son of Kronos would not bring his prayer to pass. Not yet. The father accepted the sacrifices, true, but doubled the weight of thankless, ruthless war. Once the men had prayed and flung the barley first, they lifted back the heads of the victims, slit their throats, skinned them and carved away the meat from the thigh bones, and wrapped them in fat, a double fold, sliced clean and topped with strips of flesh, and they burned these on a cleft stick, peeled and dry, spitted the vitals, held them over Hephaestus's flames, and once they'd charred the thighs and tasted the organs, they cut the rest into pieces, pierced them with spits, roasted them to a turn, and pulled them off the fire. The work done, the feast laid out, they ate well, and no man's hunger lacked a share of the banquet. When they had put aside desire for food and drink, Nestor, the noble old horseman, spoke out first. Marshal Atreides, Lord of men Agamemnon, no more trading speeches now. No more delay putting off the work the god puts in our hands. Come, let the heralds cry out to all contingents, full battle armor, muster the men along the ships. Now down we go united, review them as we pass, down through the vast encampment of Achaia, the faster to rouse the slashing god of war. Agamemnon, the lord of men, did not resist. He commanded heralds to cry out loud and clear and summoned the long-haired Achaean troops to battle. Their cries rang out. The battalions gathered quickly. The warlords dear to the gods and flanking Agamemnon strode on ahead, marshaling men-at-arms in files. And down their ranks, the fiery-eyed Athena bore her awesome shield of storm, ageless, deathless. 100 golden tassels, all of them braided tight, and each worth 100 oxen, float along the front. Her shield of lightning, dazzling, swirling around her. Headlong on, Athena swept through the Argive armies, driving soldiers harder, lashing the fighting fury in each Achaean's heart. No stopping them now, mad for war and struggle. Now, suddenly, battle thrilled them more than the journey home, than sailing hollow ships to their dear native land. As ravening fire rips through big stands of timber high on the mountain range, and the blaze flares miles away, so, from the marching troops, the blaze of bronze armor, splendid and superhuman, flared across the earth, flashing into the air to hit the skies. Armies gathering now, as the huge flocks on flocks of winged birds, geese or cranes or swans with their long lancing necks, circling Asian marshes round the Caster outflow, wheeling in all directions, glorying in their wings, keep on landing, advancing, wave on shrieking wave, and the tidal flats resound. So tribe on tribe, pouring out of the ships and shelters, marched across the Scamander plain, and the earth shook. Tremendous thunder from under trampling men and horses, drawing into position down the Scamander meadow flats, breaking into flower. Men by the thousands, numberless as the leaves and spears that flower forth in spring, the armies massing, crowding thick and fast, as the swarm of flies seething over the shepherd stalls in the first spring days when the buckets flood with milk. So many long-haired Achaeans swarmed across the plain to confront the Trojans, fired to smash their lines. The armies grouping now as seasoned goatherds split their wide-ranging flocks into packs with ease when herds have mixed together down the pasture. So the captains formed their tight platoons, detaching right and left, moving up for action, and there, in the midst, strove powerful Agamemnon, eyes and head like Zeus who loves the lightning, great in the girth like Ares, god of battles, broad through the chest like Sea Lord Poseidon, like a bull rising head and shoulders over the herds, a royal bull rearing over his flocks of driven cattle. So imposing was Atreus' son, so Zeus made him that day, towering over fighters, looming over armies.